Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News with me, Katira King. Women have played important roles in community building since the dawn of time. The innate tendency that women have for nurturing and taking care of their own render them loyal citizens and societal sustenance. From the various queens of Ethiopia to the traditional queen mothers like Yaa Asantewaa of Ghana, to political leaders like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and former Senegalese Prime Minister Mame Madior Boye, women leaders in Africa have gone to great lengths to defend the rights of their people and to facilitate development. As we look towards the election of Liberia's new president, which will hold tomorrow, we ask not only how we can continue to increase the number of females in leadership roles, but also how to strike that almighty work-life balance. I'm joined by Mrs. Yemisi Wada, Tomi Balogun, and of course the lovely Labe Daniel to discuss. Hello, good morning, ladies.
Hey.
How are we?
We're doing good.
Everyone's in black and grey and somber colour. I mean, okay, I'm wearing a grey shirt too. Let's talk women in leadership. Now, in our varying ways, I believe that we all embody that. But I want to find out let's start with you, Tomi. In terms of this glass ceiling, this mythical glass ceiling that exists, why do you think it is there?
Why do I think it's there? I think it's a cultural thing or a traditional thing. I think the African society just doesn't, it doesn't start out, it doesn't value in women in terms of their place in society. So we always had male leaders.
But we say that, but you have places like Angola that had a queen, I believe, what was her name?
Oh yeah, true.
The queen of something.
Oh yeah, I mean, we even had Queen Amina in Nigeria,
Exactly.
Nigeria as well. So I think somehow we just missed it at some point, and maybe women started to take a back seat.
Right.
That's also possible. And then men just started to, take the front seat and just lead as well. So I think it's a process. We do have a lot more people coming out and breaking the glass ceiling, because I don't think it exists as much as before. But I think it's a process, and we're still going to get there soon.
Just to pick a bank off what she was saying, because it's interesting, actually. While, yes, fine, we may say it's African, but I think it was at the last World Economic Forum where Christine Lagarde, the French MD of IMF, actually said that they've been having this conversation since as far back as she can remember. And even for someone who lives in Europe and somebody who's at that level, she's like, look, once the woman starts talking, the men get disconnected.
Yep.
They start, looking at their papers. You could just say them.
Or start making comments on their dressing. Why do we always talk about Theresa May in capacity of what she's wearing, saying that she's too leggy?
Yeah,
talk about her policies.
Yeah, it's a lot, and even still at the World Economic Forum, there was also research that said it may take us 170 years.
Wow.
So eventually get that level of equity. So but the thing is, we may not be where we were, but I think that we're closer today than we were yesterday. Although then again, with this closer today than we were yesterday, sometimes I kind of struggle with it because my grandparents live in Ibadan. And Ibadan was a city where you had the first female professor, the first female perm sec, and this was like decades ago.
Yes.
And then you're like, wait, hang on, are we really actually even making progress?
I don't think we are. I do not think we are, because I mentioned, the former heads of state and presidents. You've got Liberia, you've got Senegal, you've got Ghana, you've got Ibadan, you've got Amina in the north of Nigeria, you've got Queen of Angola. These are all people from the past who were at the top of society. Where can you find a president? A female president,
well,
-2 on the continent. Tomorrow, Liberia is holding their elections, and none of the incumbents are female. So where did the disparity start?
Okay, sorry, please go ahead.
I think I have a different take on this. Personally, I feel that in Africa, at least in Nigeria, especially in Africa, I think women have a very strong role. I think where there's a problem is where women don't come out, because culturally, we don't come out in roles that we are perceived to be as men.
Right.
And just because we don't put ourselves out for those roles, like we don't come out to be presidents, we don't come out to be governors. Having said that, we're very powerful because, I come from a family of very strong women. Both my grandmothers, my mother, strong business women. My grandmothers, especially my paternal grandmother, was very wealthy. My mother started off working, and then she broke off to be a businesswoman, to work from home when we were young, when I was about 10 years old, and she was super successful. I don't believe that. I was a single mother bringing up 3 daughters on my own for many years, and I don't think I could have gotten to the positions I got to if I lived in the West. And in Nigeria, I find out that even amongst my peers, there are many women that are actual breadwinners. You know, in many homes.
In secret.
In secret.
Because the husband
So you
will
see,
never allow you to take credit for it.
Yeah, the women themselves don't take
want to,
credit
yes,
for it.
because they don't want to
you see,
embarrass the
A
husband.
woman would buy a car for herself, and then she'll say to her friends, "Oh, come and thank my husband for this." And I think that there lies what it is. It's not that we're not powerful, but tradition does not allow us claim it or earn it.
Well, Mrs. Yemisi, how about when you look at top leadership positions? So Wimbys, for example, did this research where they realized in financial institutions, you had less than 20% of board members and directors being female, less than 30% being top management. So while in the home is great, we talked about how powerful they are, how great business entrepreneurs we are, the great things we do, but why is there still that problem with taking up these leadership positions, even going off to power? Like, you have people who have actually come forward, women who have said, I want to be president. Now, I will vote for you just because you're a woman. But there are women, I won't do it.
Any woman listening, I'll vote for you just because you're a woman.
I will vote for you because you're also competent. But we've also seen competent women come out. You know,
So
they're competent, they're
the
women.
glass ceiling, that is purely a business definition, just to buttress Labo's point. So what do we think of that? What is our take on that?
But that's, Labo, you've just said exactly. It's not that we're not there. It's just that we're not taking up the titles. And like you said, all these leadership positions, for now, they're positions where men should put us in.
But nobody's going to put us anywhere.
Exactly.
Taking a cue,
Yeah, it's for the men. It's the men to put us
an
there.
exciting
And then also, traditionally, you find out that if they announce to you today, this woman is a minister for this, the first question that comes to people's minds is, who's she sleeping with?
Okay, so just to
Who put
piggyback
her
on
there?
that, let's talk about the news that was revealed just yesterday evening, I believe it was. We can see on screen Aisha Ahmad, who is 40 years old and has been actively involved in banking at the top level for the most part of the last 20 years. Now, she has just been appointed as the Deputy Governor in charge of economic policy for the CBN to replace Sarah Alade, who retired from the central bank in March 2017 and was the only woman in the top hierarchy of the Apex Bank. So what is our take on that? A woman in a position of power. She was a chairperson or chairwoman at Wimbys, which is a non-profit organization to empower females within the business capacity. And now she's been appointed as the deputy governor. You just said whenever a woman gets into a position of power, the first question on anyone's lips is, who is she sleeping with? And we know that. It is a cultural phenomenon here, definitely, without a doubt. So why is it that we are unable to credit women in leadership for their policies, for the work that they are doing, for empowering society and civilians and the juniors beneath them, and we only ever ask the silly questions like that or discuss what they're wearing? What is going on?
It's because we're supposed to achieve all that we achieve, but quietly. It's the same reason why women would be breadwinners, but they want to accord their husbands with the saying, oh, thank you for this. It's a cultural thing. We're supposed to like with children, we're supposed to do it, but be silently,
On the side.
be seen and not heard.
So I understand what you're saying, but I think sometimes the male or the father or husband plays a key role here.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you see a lot of strong women, you see that they have a really strong man, right? So I look back at my parents, for instance. My dad was always encouraging my mom to go back for another degree, to go out and take. So sometimes the man or the role, like the father role in that person's life is very important. I won't be surprised if Mrs. Aisha Ahmad has a very supportive husband as well, who's telling her to step out and take a role. Because to be honest, women do hold themselves back sometimes. I was going to say that before that. Because you find that there's statistics that show that when you come into the banking industry, for instance, you find that there are 70% women in the training class, right? But you get to management position, there are probably like 30 or 20% women. And that's because we allow the process of life, having children, so many things make us just sit back. But that shouldn't be an excuse. So we need more women in the limelight, encouraging other people to say that, yeah, I've had children, but I'm still stepping out to build a career. And I think the role of the husband or the father is very, very important because they need to support us, right? Because it's not easy to be a mother. It's crazy sometimes. And you just want to drop everything and just be like, I'm tired. But, you know, sometimes just that support, like, you can do this, you know, I know that you have the ability already. You do have the
So just go
capacity
ahead, here
and
you are,
just
I'll
go ahead
support
and
you.
do it. So as long as
So
you have
Aisha
that.
Ahmad, you mentioned her husband, and he is a general, and it does seem as though he's incredibly supportive towards her. Now, one of her mentors is actually Hillary Clinton, who equally has a supportive husband, despite what he did. You know, this is a man that supported his wife's aspirations to become the president of the free world. So now, when we speak about women like Hillary Clinton and like Aisha Ahmed and Sarah Alade and even Mrs. Yemi Siwada, how do we strike a happy work-life balance in order to keep ourselves happy, our children happy, our husband happy, and be incredibly professional and get the best sort of results at work? It's pretty hard.
I think you need to have a strong man. You know, if you have a strong man who is doing what he's supposed to be doing, you know, you find out that such a man doesn't feel, you know, intimidated by what you're doing. Yeah. And the support is almost assumed. It's natural. Yeah. It's not something you need to work at. It's when you're with, I believe, anyway, an underachiever that anything you do affects him.
Problem.
I mean, look at somebody like Margaret Thatcher. Look at the Queen of England. I've never doubted their husbands' whatever, machoism or whatever, because they've just been there quietly supporting their wives. It's never been an issue. You know, it was never an issue. With the Queen, it's not an issue. And you don't doubt their strength. Yeah. You know, I think a problem comes in when there's a problem with the guy, quite frankly.
But also, don't women also have a role to play? Because the reality is, while we may just sit down and say maybe the problem has to do with the man, because even you as a person as well, because I mean, we talked about cultural issues as well, the role as a woman in the home, in terms of ensuring that while, of course, he should also support, but where do you also kind of like put yourself in check? Like, look, I'm really this powerful, but at the end of the day, when I come back into my home, I'm the wife and mother in my home.
So yes, that's really good and very true. Work-life balance is very important. I think for me, when I decided to go for an MBA, for instance, I knew that I had to adjust, right? My husband encouraged me, of course, but I knew that I had to, because I had a 4-year-old child. My daughter was 4 at that point. But I knew that my husband was going to step in and be more supportive, but I had to put processes in my house. So which was food timetable, some basic things like getting someone to help. You just have to have standards and process. You have to make sure that things don't suffer because you want to step out into the corporate environment. I think when you can't find that balance, sometimes it affects you as a woman.
How do you find the balance? Because it's all well and good to say you must find the balance, but as a working mum yourself, how do you do it?
The practical ways I tried to find the balance was ensuring that I could put up a system in my house.
Right.
So your house should be a system you run. Right.
So another business.
Oh, well, yeah, I can say that. But
well, that's why they say motherhood is the hardest job of all.
Yeah.
It's a profession.
You have to put up a system. You have to have basic things like a food timetable. I have a chore timetable. My nanny knows exactly what she's supposed to be doing at every point. So I take my mind off things like that because it's done. I don't have to think about what they're going to have for dinner because there's a timetable and everybody follows suit. There's a routine. You go to bed at this time. You know, it just helps me because I like structure a lot. I had to ensure that I put up these things because I was going to go crazy. Because you do have to manage the home as well. But once you do that and set up that system, it frees you. It gives you time, and then you can actually pursue other, objective ambition you have. And then your husband doesn't also feel that your home is suffering because he knows that you've taken care of things, right?
So what about these incredibly culturally traditional men who say, well, it's not good enough that the home isn't suffering. You need to be the one to do it. I don't care about the nanny or the house girl or the housekeeper. It must be you. Well, how do you then strike a work-life balance in that situation?
That's tough. That's tough, and I know that there's some people in that position.
That's part of what I say and I write in my blog. That way, these are issues which you need to have sorted out before you even talk about marriage. You know, you need to know. You can't. These aren't conversations you have after you've been married. These are conversations that you have whilst you're dating.
Right.
You know, so
make sure you're on the same page.
Make sure you're on the same page. And don't, for heaven's sake, don't know or feel that he's on that line when you're not, and then try and think, okay, well, after we've been married, I'll change him.
Doesn't work.
Epic fail.
Doesn't work.
So final thoughts, final takes on this women in leadership positions in Africa. How do we think that we can increase the number that we're currently seeing? Because currently Rwanda is the only place that has a high number, a high statistic, which is 61%. Mrs. Yamisiwada, I want to hear from you.
I was going to say something. You know, I said earlier on that our culture has been one that when a woman gets to a position, people think, who's she sleeping with? That was more prevalent in the past. But when the Constitution, or I don't know if it was the Constitution or the party policy, made, that was, if there's one thing I like about Jonathan's government, when they said 30% of the cabinet should be women, things, many more women were made ministers, and that was, you know, it made it more credible that there were many more women. So I think with constitution, with laws and with those sort of things, it'll get better.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me, ladies. That brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thanks once again to my gloriously gregarious guests, Mrs. Yamisiwada and Tomi Balogun, for joining me, Katura King. And of course, thanks to you at home for watching. From my entire team and I here in Lagos, all that's left for me to say is enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Bye.